All right, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? How is it going? I am Is There No One Else? In the video I'm bringing you today, we are going to go through what I am running for the Stamina Nightblade for the Scalebreaker DLC. Now, honestly, guys, I had a whole nother build in mind, and then I threw this together, and this is going to be more of a guide video. This is my second week of Scalebreaker, and I've been trying to get out as many builds and ideas and options for you guys as possible because people are struggling with what they're supposed to what they should run, and so I'm not going to definitively say that this is the best setup. When I find something better, I will post an update. But this worked very well for me. I have some clips for you guys at the end, just so you guys can kind of see it in action, the survivability, the sustain, the damage, all of that stuff. So I'm going to do the same thing with this video like I always do. I'm going to dive into the gear, consumables, skills, all that. And then we're going to go a little bit more in depth afterwards and kind of explain, what makes the Stamina Nightblade tick for this build, why it's effective, and, honestly what needs a little bit of a rework for Nightblade because they're a little rough right now. I mean, they're not terrible. They're not the worst stamina class, but they have some issues. So with that being said, guys, let's dive into it. The first thing, as far as consumables go, my bad, we are running, we're running Lava Foot, Soup, and Saltreese. I do not have any on here. Lava Foot, Soup, and Saltreese gives you the max stamina recovery. It gives us our maximum amount of bulk stats that we need. I found that we need a little bit more recovery this patch. We're taking more incoming damage. We're going to be healing more. So at the end of the day, with dots the way they are, I have found that this is more of a sustain meta, sustain and survivability meta than it is a damage meta. And so your previous thoughts on what damage is, in my opinion, you don't need the damage that you used to have because, dots are kind of applying a lot of pressure for you. And then if you go in with solid burst combinations, you will be able to finish people off. I'm running tripods. Tripods are the best for this type of build, in my opinion. Really can't run anything else. I need the magic of sustain for cloaking and for shadow image. Shadow image is working well now, but they increase the cost, and so in order to sustain those things, you need to use tripods. So that's what I'm using. As far as my front bar goes, we are running 5-piece Spriggans. Spriggans is a great set. You can run Scalebreaker here. You can run a bunch of front bar stuff. It really doesn't matter a whole lot, to be honest. Spriggans is just probably the best in this patch because, there's still a bunch of heavy armor people. This gives a lot of pen. This gives a lot of damage. And I'm running double damage health poisons. Still trying to run through my crown stuff that I keep picking up. So it gives close to the same as what, crafted poisons do. So I'm going to keep running them. And then once I run out, then I'll make my own. Yeah, so Spriggans is a no-brainer. Every Nightblade under the sun is running Spriggans. Scalebreaker is absolutely a viable option. But I am running Incapacitating Strike with this build, and because I'm running Incapacitating Strike, I'll take that little bit of extra damage that Spriggans gives me. If I was running Onslaught, I would absolutely put on Scalebreaker. Scalebreaker is great for Onslaught, so it's up to you guys, but I went with Spriggans for this build. Master's Bow on the back bar, Nirnhoned. Nirnhoned buffs our Poison Inject. It also buffs our healing. I do think Nirnhoned is the best. We are dodging a lot of incoming attacks via Cloak and Dodge Roll, and so I don't think defending is as important. I mean, you could run Powered, I suppose, as well, but Nirn gives you that middle ground of both, so you get a little bit of increased healing, you get a little bit more damage with your dot. Poison Inject is very, very nice this patch, so I think you want to try and keep that buffed. As far as the monster set goes, we're running Bloodspawn. I think Bloodspawn's the way to go. I tried Balorg. Balorg works out really well. I honestly just like Bloodspawn a little bit more. It gives us ulti-gen, allows us to get to our Incap. We're not running an Execute with this build, and so we're lining up Incapacitating Strikes with our Spectral Bow. And not only does this give us resistances in a 1vx situation, making us tankier and harder to kill, it also gives us ulti-gen, allowing us to get off burst combos a little bit quicker. So I went back to my more normal style Stamina Nightblade setup this patch because when you're 1vxing, you want to try and rattle off kills as quickly as possible. So getting to Incap spec bows to apply a lot of pressure to do 20% more damage after you land your Incap is very, very valuable. So that's the route that I went. And then the final set, guys, I'm running 5-piece Night Mother's Gaze. So our tooltips aren't going to be great, but we're running Spriggans and we're running Night Mothers. And so we have a lot of pen with this build. If you guys haven't seen it, this is a crafted set. When you deal critical damage, you apply major fracture to the enemy, reducing their physical resistance by 50 to 80 for 6 seconds. So, critical damage can apply via your poison injection. We're guaranteed a crit anytime we attack from stealth, so we can debuff their armor. With a sharpened maul, with Spriggans, we're reducing their armor down to nothing, like down to a very low amount. This is actually very effective. You obviously don't need to run this much pen if you don't feel like you need it. I probably do have some diminishing returns with a sharpened maul of Spriggans with this. Maybe the greatsword's better. I need to do a little bit of testing, figuring out how to min-max it. You know, maybe I trait change to Nern. I think trait changing to Nern Maul on the front bar would actually be better because then it buffs our rally heal. I think Nern Maul is the route I would go. I just, I'm a little light on transmutes at the moment, so this is what I'm running. It's been very effective. Ideally, you want 5-1-1, 5 heavy, 1 medium, 1 light. A lot of Stamblades are going to, ask me, why I'm running heavy and why I'm not running medium. And honestly, guys, just damage is higher this patch, So I forego the little bit of extra damage that medium gives you and the reduced cost for a little bit of bulk. I like that little bit of extra tankiness. I like it's mostly just the increased healing. The bigger vigor ticks, the bigger rally ticks of running heavy is nice. On top of that, when we are taking damage, our magic sustain is going to be a little bit better with this. It allows us to run our max stamina recovery food. In medium, it would be a little bit rougher to use shadow image and shadowy disguise because of the increased cost of shadow image. So I found heavy for the constitution passive for the increased healing just to be better than medium. And honestly, guys, we've talked about it. I don't want to keep ragging on this part of the game, but sometimes it's really laggy, and there's sometimes you die because you can't get up because the game's a little bit bugged and you're rolling around on the ground, and heavy will give you that chance to get up. And if the game was working perfectly, I would love to go back to medium. I would love to be able to run medium again on just about every class in the game, but it doesn't always work that way. And so sometimes you got to protect your character a little bit so you don't get two-pieced when something isn't working properly. So I do think heavy is just a better option. On top of that, dots are hitting very hard, and sometimes, you need a certain amount of bulk in order to be out of stealth to dish out damage, or else you just get nuked. And so I went with heavy for that reason. We are running 1 recovery with robust, 2 robust with spell damage, or weapon damage. Not spell damage, guys. We do not need spell damage on a Stamina Nightblade. Don't do that. So yeah, that's the route that I went. As far as the character sheet goes, guys, here we are. I am a Wood Elf. A lot of races work, obviously. I will always be a Wood Elf Stamina Nightblade unless they completely gut the passives. Wood Elf is just my thing for Nightblade. It just fits. I have 18 points in health. I have 46 in stamina. You just want to get your health around 24, 25k. I think 25k is basically the sweet spot. Any less, you really need to have more magic sustain and avoid damage. But 25k gives you that amount to where you can react, respond, and all that. I like that amount for PvP currently. We have just under 34k stamina, 2373 stamina recovery. If we pop a pot and we look at our character sheet, we're at 2700 stamina recovery. I think I have continuous attack right now, actually. No, I do not. So 2732 stamina recovery. If we buff up, keep in mind, guys, this is a pen build. We have 2600 weapon damage. With the Master's Bow on the back bar, we are at 3500 weapon damage-ish? Something like that. Not very high, but keep in mind we have Fracture. We have a ton of pen. That's kind of the route to go. Our recovery jumps up to 2900. Really good for sustain this patch. Just being able to continuously pop rally heals, being able to dodge roll, being able to kite, doing all these things comes in handy. And so our damage is there. I can assure you that because of the amount of pen that we have. I did go Serpent Mundus. If you want to go Warrior Mundus for a little bit more damage because you think this is too much, that's fine. Like I said, Lava Foot, Soup, and Saltrice. We're not a vampire or anything like that. We do not really want to take more damage with this build. So, as far as our skills go on our 2H bar, I am running Relentless Focus. This is going to be part of our burst combination. After we hit with our Incapacitating Strike, we are going to hit with this, and it's a lot of pressure. It's going to basically put most people in execute range, and it's going to allow our poisons on our front bar to stack pretty hard, as well as our poison inject on our back bar to go into execute range and hit even harder. So that combination of things has allowed me to finish off opponents. I don't really feel like I need an execute with this build against most players because, you know, a lot of people are having a hard time dealing with dots. Everybody kind of dies regardless. So Incap, spec bow, and then light attack, surprise attack, bashes with 20% more damage allows you to finish most people. So haven't really found anybody I haven't been able to kill yet. I'm not saying I'm killing everybody. I'm just saying, like, this patch, everybody's in your range for killing. So ambush. Now, you could put spec bow here, and you could put an execute here. I went with ambush because there are still snares in the game. I like being able to still get on top of somebody in case I get knocked back. I don't have a ton of magic to sustain, so it's not like I can cloak around behind people and like really maneuver that way. The gap closer is nice. On top of that, guys, this gives us minor vulnerability, which is great in duos, trios, whatever. Anybody I ambush on, they get minor vulnerability. So it increases their damage, the enemy's damage taken by 8%. So people that are fighting with me, they also get that 8%. They're also doing 8% more damage to that person. So very, very powerful. Empower, increase the next damage of your light attack by 40%. That's kind of handy, but it's mostly the vulnerability and the gap closer. We are running Rally in a heavy armor build. The heal is just too good, guys. Like, this is just such a powerful heal, this patch. There are a lot of dots. You want to make sure you try and keep this up. Keep in mind, guys, the duration of Rally is 20 seconds. So until you get used to it, you probably want to keep your buff tracker up to make sure that, you know, this doesn't drop off, because this will save you a lot. Mass Hysteria, Fear. I didn't try the Fighters Guild Fear. Mass Hysteria still misses. It's a little annoying. I think Fighters Guild Fear would fit just perfectly here. I'm going to give that a shot too, especially with the stamina recovery I have. I just haven't done it yet. Wanted to get this out for you guys, but those are the two options. I do think Fighters Guild Fear is a good option. Mass Hysteria seems kind of buggy sometimes, where it just misses and it doesn't make any sense, but you know, it goes through block. When it works well. I think you want a CC here, so whichever one you choose works for me. Surprise attack. Like I said, guys, don't look too much at the tooltip. Like I said, this is more of a pen-based build. Night Mother's Gaze, Spriggans, we have a ton of pen. Our tooltips don't matter a whole lot with this build. So this is going to be our spammable. It's going to do a ton of damage. Yeah. And then Incapacitating Strike. I honestly am not a huge fan of this ultimate anymore, but with how we're using it, it works out just fine. The silence is kind of garbage. You know, I'm not going to lie. They pretty much gutted the skill by having it be a silence. You know, sometimes against some players, the silence really does come in handy. Like if you catch a Sork off guard or a healer and they don't realize that they're silenced right away, you can finish them. And so it's nice for that, because it doesn't always tell you that you don't always know that you're silenced, basically. However, it doesn't work against everybody. There are a lot of classes that even if they're silenced, they're going to go on with their day relatively unnoticed when you hit them with this Incap. And so it doesn't make any sense that a silence applies, and it's only really useful against mostly mag specs. You know, it's very, very specific. I would rather this go back to a knockdown, especially if you're going to have a cast time on ultimates, which, you know, we've already talked about. I'm okay with. Provide a knockdown with this. You know, you already got away, like, provide the counterplay back. Give us a knockdown. Give us something else. Take away the silence. Give us anything else. Seriously, anything else besides a 3-second silence, like, because this is just garbage. There's no point. This ultimate is better at 70 ultimate than it is at 120, in my opinion. As far as our back bar goes, guys, there are 3 ultimates you can run here. You can run Ballista. You can run Soul Siphon, in my opinion. Soul Siphon is great for group play, or you can run Undo. Now, Undo is currently bugged, because if you try to activate it, sometimes you're stuck in place. And Ballista is bugged in that it sometimes desyncs people. However, the problem is, guys, you know, oftentimes I try not to run stuff that desyncs people, but there's so many things that are currently desyncing people. Like, people have told me that they think Dizzying Swing is desyncing them, Ballista is desyncing them, Dots are desyncing them. So are we really supposed to just not run, like, everything in the game? You know? So if you don't want to run Ballista because it does desync people occasionally, don't run it. I haven't been desynced in like the last week, so I feel like it has been adjusted, and that's why I felt comfortable doing it. If I got desynced again, I'd probably take it off, but I don't think it's desyncing as much as it used to be. I could be wrong, but adjust your ultimate accordingly based off of what you want to do. Resolving Vigor is our heal. Poison Injection, proc our Master's Bow. Shadowy Disguise guarantees our crit, Shadow Image, and Leeching Strikes. So this gives us, once again, more sustain. It also increases our healing a little bit. This is kind of a flex spot. If you guys wanted to run medium, you put Shuffle here. Shuffle here would work out very well. I just, I wanted to make sure that I could survive, and I like this build. So although I do not have snare removal, I have Shadow Image, and I have Cloak. So if I do get snared, I go back to my Shadow. I wait a couple seconds, I get out of snares, and I can just kind of dance around with the amount of recovery that I have, the movement speed I have. Snares aren't a big issue with this type of build. I can get to whoever I want with my gap closer. Yes, you are snared, but you can kind of take some heat. You can Shadow Image back. It's not. I find I don't need it. Their snare removal isn't as big of a deal this patch as it has been in the past. So that's just my preferences. As far as champion points goes, guys, I'm not saying they're perfect. That's just what I have. 56 Warlord, 1 into Siphoner. You always want 1 into Siphoner because it's the debuff, so they have to defile it if they have it on them. Or they have to remove it if they have it on them. Not defile it, sorry. 64 Mooncalf, 19 into Arcanist, 64 Tenacity, 66 into Tumbling. We just want to be able to dodge roll. 32 into Blessed for a little bit of increased healing. 72 Master at Arms. We have 28 into Thumb, 56 Mighty, 26 Piercing. You could probably take a few out of here if you want and put more into Thumb, I suppose. 56 Precise Strikes. It just kind of depends on what you want. 72 Ironclad, 52 Resistant, 37 Hardy, 37 LA Defender, 72 into Thick Skin for those pesky dots, and nothing over here. So that's the build, guys. Like I said, I think this build works out really well. I think it's pretty effective. I've already had some pretty good fights. I will post them for you guys just so you can see the sustain, the survivability, the damage. Like I said, all that. I honestly think Nightblade needs a little bit of a rework. We are pretty resistant to dots this patch because of being able to use Shadowy Disguise. Being able to maneuver around the battlefield is always effective. Avoiding damage is better than being able to purify it off. So Nightblades will always be, effective for being able to maneuver. However, the problem with the Nightblade burst combination, guys, is our Incapacitating Strike has a cast time, and our Relentless Focus also has a small cast time. And so it doesn't, although it says instant, if you try to block cancel it, it'll cast out of it, and it's very slow moving. And so the problem is at the end of the day, guys, fast-paced combat is nice, and I understand the need to want to put a cast time on this. But when you put a cast time on Incap and Relentless Focus can be blocked out of because it's so slow to cast, it creates very slow and clunky gameplay, just like my speech right now. It's just as slow, it's just as clunky as how I'm talking. It's miserable. And so when you think of Stamina Nightblade, or Nightblade in general, guys, you think of Nightblade as like the burst class. Traditionally they've been squishier, but they dish out more damage. And they've scaled back the damage. They've given them a little bit more tankiness. Honestly, they're more well-rounded. It does make them fun. But this combination is garbage. And the reason that is, guys, is the quote-unquote burst class has less reliability to land their burst than like 2 or 3 other classes in the game. And so if you look at a Stamina Warden, you can drop your Subterranean Assault. You have 3 seconds before it goes off, right? You hit your Dizzying Swing, and so either you can land your Dizzying Swing with your sub at the same time, or you land your Dizzying Swing with your ultimate, and then your ultimate and your sub hits at the same time. And so you have this combination of these 2 skills hitting at the same time. Necromancer has the same thing. Dizzying Swing plus Blast Bones, or Blast Bones plus Ultimate, can hit at the same time. And so you have this combination of 15 to 20k Blast Bones plus 15 to 18k D-Swing, and so you could have 30k tooltips for burst. Or plus the ultimate, so you can have 30k plus tooltip with ultimate plus Blast Bones. DK kind of has the same thing. You can D-Swing and you can leap, and leap is basically instant. You can land on them before they hit the ground. So those sorts of things land very well. The problem with a Nightblade is if I go in and I light attack, surprise attack, bash to you're at half health, I hit you with an Incap, it has a cast time, it lands, you now CC break. I have to wait until you dodge roll because, I just hold the spec bow now. I wait until you dodge roll and stand up, and then I hit you with the spectral bow. And so you have this long delay between these hard-hitting skills for a Nightblade that you don't have with other classes. And so I understand the need for counterplay. I understand, we've talked about that a lot on this channel, but there's also a need for burst, and Nightblade just feels like shit when it comes to burst compared to other classes. I know Blast Bones doesn't always land. I understand that, and they're working towards fixing it. But when Blast Bones lands, Necro has more burst than a Nightblade does. And that's why I think this is the main reason why a lot of people aren't really big fans of Nightblades right now, because it feels so slow. It feels so... Combat is just kind of shitty sometimes. And so that's going to be the end of this video. Honestly, Nightblade discussion deserves its own video, but I wanted to cover it here because, you know, when you do think about, you know, how slow landing Incap and Relentless is compared to other classes combos, it's kind of bullshit. You know, like, other classes have this potential and nobody's really complaining about them. But, you know, Nightblades have been skull fucking people for years, and so they've had to nerf them down to what we have now. So that's just what it is. Hopefully, you know, we can get that little bit of adjustment and put things in a sweet spot. But that's going to be the end of this video, or the end of this build. I got some clips at the end for you guys, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching, guys. Have a nice day. Alright guys, so here's a few clips just that I've had from the last couple of days. Wanted to just basically show the build in action, show some damage, the sustain, the recovery, all of that. So first fight, we're outside of Bleakers. I did step out the door and there's a ton of people here. So now I cloak away. They drop caltrops on me, so I'm going to buff up. I'm going to go around the rock and see who we pull. Looks like we have the attention of a few people. I'm going to drop my shadow image. I'm hit with a curse. A few force pulses, so I'm going to back up just a little bit. Snipers are pretty effective this patch. Somehow I dodged the leap. That shouldn't happen, but I did. And so you see the lightning staff attacks. You see I have a Nightblade coming in. You see the force, the clench coming in. And so I'm just going to come in. I'm going to drop the bow ulti on this guy. I'm going to fear him. Light attack, surprise attack. Light attack, surprise attack. He does a good job of defensing up. I go with the conceal. It sets him off balance, but it doesn't stun him. He didn't have the circles underneath his feet, so I don't know what that is. I'm going to cloak. I see he's almost dead. I pop the spec bow. He drops over dead. And so now we just have one more person here. I'm going to stay on the body. Heavy attack, surprise attack, or heavy attack Incap. Proc poison. He drops over dead. Just a quick little 1v2. Just kind of wanted to show the sustain. This fight, I was fighting inside this tower against this Sork for a little bit. We ended up hitting a load screen, which is going to happen in PvP. They just flipped the keep, and so now we have two people on us. And so this is to just kind of show you the sustain, show you the kite ability. You know, obviously I'm in heavy armor. Obviously I do not have snare removal. And so anytime I do get snared, I'm going to try to utilize my shadow image. And you're going to want to keep an eye on your magic as sustain with this type of build. Like, obviously we're a little bit higher with the Constitution passive, but we don't have a ton of sustain. And if you find, you know, if you guys find that, you know, your sustain isn't as good with a build like this, like let's say you're running Hunting's Rage, or let's say you want to run Fury, or something like that, you know, throw on some magic recovery. You know, if you need more magic recovery as a stamina Nightblade, that's fine. You know, put on Scalebreaker, do something like that. You know, the point of this video, guys, isn't to tell you, hey guys, Night Mother's Gaze is best in the slot, so is Spriggan's. You need to run this or else you're a fucking moron. You know, I will never do that. Anytime you play a class in PvP, it's always preference. And so it's always going to come down to preference as to what you prefer. And so if you guys don't like the setup because you think the mag sustain is too low, add more mag sustain. You know, if you feel like you need more resistances, throw on some protective jewelry. Maybe run the Lady Mundus Stone. You know, maybe, you know, put on Fortified Brass or some other tanky set so that you can survive a little bit more. Everybody plays differently. And so these clips are just to show this build in action that I've actually enjoyed playing, that I feel like works pretty well right now. You know, this guy comes up top here, drops a few bow ultis. I go to kill him, and all of a sudden a couple pet swords come up. I hit a load screen, and so I don't get the finishing blow. So I drop a shadow image right there. We see a guy lower CP. So we're going to do a fear, Incap, dodge roll, and we need a quick kill. So now I'm going to come up top here, buff up once again. You want to try and keep your rally up because rally is going to be your main heal. And so once you get hit with a few dots like this, you want to cloak to suppress those dots, get healed to full, and then get back into the fight. So you see there's a bunch of people around here. You know, I'm inside an enemy keep. I've drawn a bunch of attention. I go to kill this ad because I like to kill the ones that are negating us. You see I have a little bit of lag. I get CC'd before all this stuff hits me, and so I ignore hitting him, and then I go back down here. So now we have another person. So we have a DK, Incap, Spectral Bow, 6k surprise attack to finish it off. Another quick kill. You see I try to cloak there, I get pulled out of stealth, so I'm going to dodge roll, buff up with my siphoning, buff up with my vigor, drop my shadow image right there, get a quick cloak off, and I know where my shadow image is, I know where I kind of have to get in the area. I come up here to see if I can get a kill. I'm getting chased, so I just dodge roll once again. And this is just to kind of highlight the survivability and sustain. Obviously dots are really effective this patch, and so I want to just show how just a build like this normally works. I did try Curse Eater, and Curse Eater worked out pretty well. I come up here to try and get a kill. I dodge roll off the keep, double meteor plus fall damage, good game. And so finally, guys, the last clip. I see a few reds out here starting to crouch around Ailswell. They were starting to gather up, so I decided to, kill a few before they all show up. They're all waiting here for the rest of their group to show up, and so that they get siege to keep. So all of a sudden, 2 people come out of stealth. I get leapt on. I buff up with my rally. I fear them. Hit with my siphoning attacks. Dodge roll. Drop my shadow image. And now I'm just trying to figure out my target. And so I'm going to avoid the DK because typically the DK is a little bit more tanky. And honestly, guys, the first start of this fight, I didn't play it super well. I see that they're a lower CP. I assumed they were going to be a little bit more squishy than they were, and I didn't really line up my burst. I just kind of thought I'd be able to kill them really quickly, dot them down, and that just wasn't the case. And so you see I drop them to low health, and I go for the Incap anyways, and now I get D-swinged, and this is exactly why I wear heavy armor. If I'm in medium armor right there, I'm dead. Just game over. Sometimes you get stuck rolling around on the ground, unable to do anything. And so I had to recover. I had to do a bunch of stuff. And so now you see I have 3 people on me. And so I'm going to just keep buff up, keep my heals up, drop my siphoning. I try to cloak there. I have my shadow image. I almost die once again. Shadow image saves me. They have resource poisons on me. And so I'm just going to back up, and I'm just going to play it a little slow, get some heavy attacks in, get my resources up, drop a shadow image behind the pillar. And so now they're throwing caltrops. You see they're coming in. We have this guy kind of by himself, so I'm going to wind up a heavy attack, surprise attack, bash. I get focused once again, so I have to back up. I shadow image back to the pillar. Gives me some line of sight. You see I have this DK here that's not healing to full, so I go with the Incap, spec bow. He drops over dead. And now I'm going to try and camp the body a little bit to make sure that they don't get the revive off. Get the bash in, some more siphoning attacks. I got the birds coming in. I'm just keeping an eye on the body. Anybody that goes in on this, I'm going to try and kill. So I'm just going to keep my resources up. Now I have a bunch of magicka. Lower stam, so I'm just going to keep an eye on that. Go for the fear. The fear doesn't work on the guy with the D-swing for whatever reason. They dot me up. I'm getting hit with a bunch of damage. I fear them. I get the distance a little bit. Dodge roll, cloak, siphoning attacks. I come back. He's at low health. I'm going to hit with the Incap. Surprise attack. Another surprise attack. Poisons go off. He drops over dead. So we got 2 dead. Now we have a blue that comes in. And we just have 2 people left. And so this warden's at low health. He drops over dead from a nice little burst. And now we have the DK left. And so we're just going to finish this up. We're going to clean it up. And it's over. And this guy kind of just watched it happen. So now I'm going to come over here. We have a few more people at the front of the keep. So we're going to focus this Sork. We're going to fear him. The fear doesn't work there. Apparently he was too far away, even though I feared it when it was right on top of him. He drops the shield. I'm getting hit with poison inject. I go for the bash, but the bash doesn't work. I drain my stamina. She gets to revive anyways. She's wearing Kagranax. I get that bash, but now there's just too many people here on me, and so I have to back up. So I see this person at low health. Once again, I go for the Incap, the Spectral Bow. I go for a few more surprise attacks, and the Templar looks to be healing them a little bit, so I have to back up off the fight. Now I get fossilized with a meteor, block the meteor, dodge roll out of it. And as you guys can see, like, the sustain's good, the damage is good. It's just, sometimes the fight is just a little slow on a Nightblade right now. So we got an Incap against Petsork, so we're just going to keep light attack, surprise attack, bashing. He messes up his combo a little bit there. He needed to drop the meteor and then CC me. I was able to avoid the burst, so I hit him with a quick spec bow for 10k. Surprise attack, bash, and he's dead. So that's the build in action, guys. That's just kind of what I've fallen on right now. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. Like I said, I've run a bunch of stuff, and I kind of feel like everything I've run has been solid. I'm not going to lie. Like there's nothing where I've been like, oh my gosh, dots are eating me apart or anything like that. So if you feel like, you know, things are tearing you apart, put on a resistance set. You know, maybe you're going to have to run Blood Spawn. Maybe you're going to have to run Fortified. Maybe you're going to have to run, you know, Impreg. You know, there's a bunch of resistance sets. You know, for a long time, Stamina Nightblade has been like the only class that could get away with outrunning resistance sets, and it seems like this patch is the patch where you're going to have to do something. So I found just, like, honestly, guys, I ran Balorg and I was fine. But Blood Spawn just gave me that little bit extra edge, and I actually liked the Blood Spawn a little bit more, especially when I'm rattling off Incap. So that's the end of this video. If you guys have any questions or comments, please provide in the section below. Thank you for watching, guys. Have a nice day.